Yes. Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you, ma'am?
I am fine, and you?
I'm doing great. It is a lovely day. I'm truly blessed.
Awesome.
We have an amazing topic. I hope you're feeling quite blessed over there. You're looking quite spry.
Thank you. I actually am, and one of the reasons is, and who knew this, but I was out Saturday for an event. Somebody was donating money to the nonprofit, the board that I sit on, right? And I
Hmm.
was standing waiting for where we were going to sit, and this guy came up and stood in front of me, and he said, "Oh my God!" I went, "Okay." And he says, "I watch your community briefing shows every week. I can't see them while they're broadcasting live because I work, but I see them in the evening."
Oh,
And I
that's
mean,
good.
when I come back and I went, "Oh," he goes, "You're famous. You're all over the internet." And I just chuckled. And later on, so basically saying we never know who's watching, right? Later
Yeah.
on, he came out. I was leaving. He ran up to me again, and he was telling me he had just started his business. And I was like, "Oh, let me get you connected with one of the organizations so we can get you some TA, some technical assistance." He goes, because I said, "Because I do work for whatever the organization I said." He goes, "No, I know everything. I watch not just the community briefing. I watch the business zone. I've seen you on the conversations on the patio." I was like,
Oh my
"Well,
goodness.
okay." No need to explain what I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, well, that's
So
what it is,
there
right?
you go. People are watching.
People are watching. There you go. Okay, well, let's read your bio and let's jump into our topic for the day, which is risk tolerance and the case for bonds. So we'll talk a little bit
Okay.
about what a bond is, and then we'll get into why folks should use them, and then how to take advantage of them.
Okay.
Uh, and then I'm going to try this whole screen thing. We'll try that and see how it goes. So
Okay.
here we go. So
All righty.
um, everyone, if you could help me welcome my friend and colleague Crystal Mitchell to the show. Crystal is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's the co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, a weekly online radio show, another weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hello, Crystal. Great to have you here as always. Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. And this is an interesting because when I look at my own portfolio, I never know what to do with bonds.
Ah,
So, so this is going to be valuable information for me going into 2024.
2024, yes. Well, I hope so. Some people suggest that folks that trade bonds are the smartest people in the room. So we're just going to tackle them a little bit here. So
Okay.
I'm not going to get into them too much. I think we can do that on another show, and we probably should. What are the intricacies of uh, using bonds and how they work versus stocks? Yeah, they're different.
Hmm.
But we do know that number one, bonds are debt instruments. That is, you are loaning someone money, and typically the way that happens is just like when you have a municipal bond or a federal bond, you give that entity money and you get payments on it until the bond is paid off. And the cool thing about bonds is you get your money back, which is really cool. So you loan them the money, they make payments while they're using your money, and then you get the money back. Okay. So, what is the significance of that? Well, number one, the big significance is that they tend to be quite a bit more or quite a bit less volatile than the stock market. So, now there was a time when folks would say, as stocks go up, bonds go down, and vice versa. And that hasn't been true, I'm going to say, for the last 20 years or so. We've suddenly seen that they're not correlated, or they are correlated, and we don't know necessarily why for any reason that we can just categorize. So it's safe to say that they're their own market. Okay, so to have a well diversified portfolio, I like that. Uh, what do we want to do? Well, we want to get the right mix of stocks and bonds that's appropriate for someone. But how did that come about? So I thought I'd show you a couple of graphs.
Okay,
And
fantastic.
we kind of dive into it. So we'll give here we go. We'll see how it works. Let's see here. Okay, so the first is the first graph, and kind of an interesting picture.
I see
I
it.
just got this off of the internet. Did you see it?
I do.
You do? Oh, yay! It's working.
Yay!
So you should see a red line and a blue line, and the red line is portfolio number 2. That is the S&P 500. Those are returns for the S&P 500 since 1999.
Okay.
1999, and then up until 2019. And then if you take a look at the blue line, that's the average return or total return for the bond market. These are long-term bonds from that same time period, 1999 to 2018. So you can see the return of the bonds has been significantly less than return of the stocks. But look how volatile that blue line is when you compare it to the volatility of the stock market. Right? So even though you're going to make more money, presumably in the stock market, your risk tolerance has to be pretty much up there because you're going to take some lumps. If you look at what happened here in 2008, 2009, we remember that. And we also remember what happened in 2000 and 2001. We remember that, the dot-com crunch. And we've got some more recent things, right? But look what was happening to bonds all through those times.
So they stayed consistent. So, but you don't get, I mean, your return is more long-term, I guess?
Your return is long-term. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by long-term.
Meaning that when you invest in bonds, like in the stock market, obviously you can track it. And if it looks like it's no longer performing, then you can, of course, contact whoever is managing or the app that you're managing your own portfolio, and then you can sell it and buy something else, right? Can you do the same thing with bonds?
You most definitely can.
Okay.
And I'm going to suggest, though, that we take a little bit different view than the one that you just suggested, which is very common. We look at the market, we see how it's going, we make a change based on what's going on in the market. I think the case for bonds, and what I'm going to suggest now, is that we want to change our portfolio based on what's going on in our lives. Right?
Oh,
so
okay.
If something is changing in our life, then we want to take our risk questionnaire again. And that's why I call this the risk tolerance and the case for bonds. Let me show you one more screen.
Okay.
Let's see here. Hopefully I can do this. Okay, so this is a screen. I believe I got this from Samurai something or another on the internet. But it shows the worst performance for bonds, which was in 1994. Bonds went down 2.9%. And the worst performance for stocks, this is the S&P 500, went down 38%. So if you're a person who is retired, let's say, and I've got a statement there that takes a look at that, you may want to consider, hey, instead of putting my money in the stock market, maybe I should put my money in the bond market, because even though I can lose 2.9% in a year, I don't have to worry about coming back from 38%. Now, if I'm in the accumulation stage, that is, if I'm in that buying stage, stacking money away, then going down 38%, that's kind of a good deal, right? Because if the market goes down 38% and I'm buying things presumably 38% cheaper than what they could have been 2 days ago, I'm buying low, and then my opportunity to sell high is definitely granted, because we know if we go back to that first line, we know that the market's going to go up. That first slide, we don't know how much, but we know that it's going to go up. It's going to go down a little bit, but in general, it's on an upward trend, right?
Okay.
So we know it's going to recover. But if we don't temper that we could experience this, and that could be tough. So when we look at our portfolios, we may have a tough time with this right here, unless we have a little bit of that mellowness in there to kind of help us kind of get us through that rough point. Do you see what I mean?
Okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
So it helps keep that balance
yeah, it keeps your
portfolio.
whole portfolio exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps your whole portfolio not going down too much. Now, for someone like myself, I'm very risk accepting. So for me, I like the idea. I don't really care about the idea in this stage of my life with regard to that market going down. I like that because that lets me buy cheaper. But if I were someone that was, let's say, closer to retirement, and I love this example, this guy from the same website. Let's say you've got $3 million and you've decided you can live off of 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get a higher probability before taxes, why wouldn't you, right?
Right.
I mean, right, if you can do that. But I like the part down here where he says, making it potentially $300,000 won't make you happier by investing in all stocks. It's not going to make you happier. But if you lost $300,000,
You'd be very unhappy.
you're going to be very unhappy. So why risk your freedom by having to go back to work is what this just gentleman is saying. If you've got $1 million, you lose 300,000, you're going to be in trouble. But if you were in the bond portfolio and you only lost 100,000, you might say, "Oh, that's okay. I'm not too worried about that." Right?
Okay.
So the bond portfolio, I think, is a wonderful place to be. And we can talk about how it works a little later. But for the purposes of this call, I would say you really want to take that questionnaire that we talk about all the time, figure out what your risk tolerance is. And I'm happy to send that to anyone. I will let you know that any mutual fund company on the planet has a risk tolerance portfolio. They want you to take it. They want you to get the right mix of stocks/bonds in your portfolio. So any of the big names are going to have one, and they're usually free. You don't even have to pay for them. And I know a couple of that I use are kind of nice because they actually allow you to total up your tally. And then, of course, you can always talk with myself, or another financial advisor about what this actually means for you in your life. But you definitely want to make sure you do that. So the long and short of the matter is that when we get right down to it, many of us suggest that, or our history suggests that stocks return on average since the crash of 29 between 9 and 11%. Some people would say between 8 and 10, but I think 9 and 11 is a good place to start there. On average. So that means that it could go up, it could go down, but on average, 9 to 11%. Whereas bonds are around 4 to 6%. Right? So I love this first part of the paragraph where he says, if you've already won, that is, if you've already made your money and you're sitting there in retirement, you would probably appreciate the peace of mind you get from a 4 to 6% return, which doesn't vary too much from that. Versus risking a 9 to 10% return when that 10% could go all the way down to 2 or 3% or negative. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So as the comment that you made earlier was spot on, and that is that bonds tend to be a little bit less volatile, or dramatically less volatile. Let's just call it what it is, dramatically less volatile. And a good time to consider moving over there is when you're at the end of your accumulation stage. You've quote unquote beaten the financial gain. You have the money you're going to have, plus that money from Social Security, plus that rental income, plus all of that stuff, all that's coming in. So you're not looking to grow that pot. You're pretty much looking to live off the pot. Maybe let it grow a little bit so that you can stay above inflation, but you're not looking to make those huge rewards. The bond market can be a great place for you to be for the majority, if not all of your investments. I would say the majority of your investments.
The majority.
Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah. Like now I get it. So, but with bonds, like you know, those are usually like governmental bonds and things like that, right? Or I think there's some global bonds out there.
Yeah.
You know what the stock market is. Microsoft,
Yep.
Apple, whatever
Yep.
stocks that you are familiar with that you
Hmm.
may support those companies. Spending your dollars there. I always say invest in places where I'm spending most of my money, so at least it make me feel like I'm getting some of it back. But that's my philosophy.
All right.
So,
That's good.
but with bonds, I don't know. I mean, if I'm going to do governmental bonds, what exactly are those doing, right? Do they fall into my philosophy of life,
Mm.
or global bonds? How do you know that?
Well, I'm going to take a step and suggest that you buy bonds the way you buy stocks. And for most of us, that means we buy them in mutual funds. And the mutual funds would have the particular types of bonds there. There are generally two types, government and commercial bonds. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are or short-term, intermediate, and long-term bonds. So between those six, having a well-diversified portfolio between those six, which is pretty much what we do in a way when we include the stock portion of our portfolio, we're just going to make our concentration bigger in the bond portfolio. So instead of 80% stock and 20% bonds, maybe we'll have 80% bonds and 20% stock. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we'll have corporate bonds and government bonds. And the government bonds are going to be a bit more stable than the corporate bonds are. I like that word, stable versus volatility.
Mm-hmm.
And you just get yourself a well diversified bond portfolio. And like I said, it's easier to do it in mutual funds. Bonds are going to automatically give you dividends, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
reinvest those
Mm-hmm.
because of their nature. You get the payments there. And that's the deal. So the same companies, or many of the same companies that issue stocks, also issue bonds. And if you wanted to, you could buy those bonds independently from the government. You could buy T-bills, or you could buy 10-year bonds or long-term bonds. You could do that. But like I said before, you can just go to some company and buy a mutual fund of government bonds, or mutual fund of corporate bonds, or mutual fund
Okay.
of international bonds, a mutual fund of a mix of those, or a particular kind. So you don't have to get you don't have to understand, you know, you don't have to understand a gas engine to drive the car. You can
Okay. Because more than likely you don't
exactly right.
understand exactly. Not
You
everybody,
have to
but
put gas and oil in it now. You got to do that.
yeah, right,
Yeah, do
exactly.
some maintenance, but you don't have to understand the workings of a combustion engine.
Okay, which is what your 401k plans have, a nice blend of mutual funds and so forth. I remember when I worked in that industry,
Yeah,
that's really what we were selling, mutual funds.
yeah. You should. It should have a the night the an ability for you to get a well diversified portfolio that includes stocks and bonds. If it doesn't, then you should say something to uh, the owner of the organization and the advisor running that.
Mhm.
But again, I want to go back to when do you get in? How do you change them? And that is really that risk questionnaire. And that's why I like the idea of folks taking that at least once a year so they can track their progress, right? So if you take
Mhm.
it every year in your 30s, every year in your 40s, every year in your 50s, eventually you see yourself getting more or less aggressive, more or less aggressive, more or less aggressive, depending on what's going on in your life rather than what's going on in the market. Reacting to the market is a tough place to be, and it takes some time. And that's why some folks like me earn their money, right? I don't do that, but some financial advisors, that's what they do. They take a look at what's going on in the market, and they try to prognosticate as to what's going to be the next trend, what's going to be the big thing. How can I save your money? How do we do that? I'm going to use some defensive stocks. I'm going to add some bonds in the portfolio. We're going to have this discussion about your portfolio. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's tough to do that. And if I could guarantee that I could increase or decrease your portfolio, I probably wouldn't be talking with you. Right? So I would say in the 401k side, we're usually accumulating assets and holding on to them until we retire. So
Right.
that makes my job super easy. A well diversified portfolio, right mix of stocks and bonds. Our real key thing is buy low and sell high. That's our deal here in the 401k side. After the 401k side, and we're trying to figure out what's going on, or outside the 401k, we've got a different thing going. We don't have a 40-year cutoff. We're taking a look at our portfolio, and in many instances, we're reacting to the market, or we're trying to fool the market or get ahead of the market, or we're trying to do that kind of thing. We're trying to manipulate our portfolio to take advantage of the market. Here in the 401k side, we're not doing that. We're just going to use the market to its best advantage for us, which means we control our exposure to the market. We control when we're going to get in and when we're going to go out. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. So it's very different type philosophies, right?
And is that because your goals are long term? It provided that person got in early enough, and it's just
Yes,
we're looking at the end result versus what's happening in the middle.
exactly. And also, we also know that the experience level of our investors is in general fairly low. So why should we expose them to risk that they really don't want to be in, right? They really don't have an understanding of what's going on, and they don't have the time in order to sit down and get that, right? So when the Department of Labor started these things, they just wanted to make sure that not only wealthy people would be investing, and so the deal was that they would hold the feet of wealthy people, business owners, to the fire, so that they would educate their participants. Right? Well, I've never met a business owner that started his business or her business so that they could contribute to someone's 401k. It just they don't do that. So they just need to. They want to see
That would be
family.
a say what?
Yeah, right.
I'm
So,
doing what?
yeah. So when the Department of Labor and the IRS got together, they wanted to make sure, okay, let's give these people, the regular American, a fighting chance with the market. Well, what do we know about the market? One thing we know is that it goes up. So if we can bet on it going up, now we can just manage that process. Right? We know it's going to go up, and we know that they're going to leave the market in a particular amount of time when they retire. So how do we take advantage of that? Well, we make them buy everything. So they're well diversified. They can participate in as much as possible to take as much of the gains as possible. And we also understand buy low and sell high. So we're going to put them in the best position to do that. And we also understand they're going to do what we call dollar cost average, which means you put money in on a regular basis, right? Regular basis. Every time you get paid, you put a little bit money in, a little bit money in, a little bit money in. Sometimes you're going to buy low, sometimes you're going to buy high, but you're always putting that money in. Just through inflation alone, if you keep putting that money in, you're going to buy low and sell high. Even if all things being equal, just because the market is going to continue to go up, you have a very good chance of buying low and selling high if you put your money in regular intervals. So the system is set up for participants to be successful.
Okay.
Right. That's the deal. Outside, I don't know if there's a system. Outside, we're using some tricks. Some of the clients that I have, that are financial advisors, they've got models and all kinds of stuff, and they're really worth their weight in gold because they spend a lot of time studying trends and what's going on in the market and how to manage that, and how to get as much as they can out of the market for their investors.
And I guess as we've been continuously saying that, you're having conversation, not just letting it work on its own, and you have no insight into it or even ask a question about it until like, hey, I'm 64 years old. Wait, I can be retiring. Now,
Right.
can you tell me about the plan?
Right. Right.
Right. So you want to kind of be you're saying be proactive all along, making sure that it fits your risk tolerance.
Yes, and I thank you for putting it so succinctly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Take advantage of the situation. Take that risk tolerance quiz early and often, and of course, you want to take it annually. And I'm going to add the caveat: or when something in your life changes, you get pregnant, you get married, you have children, someone goes to college, whatever, something happens in your life. Take that questionnaire again, because the worst investment is the one that keeps you up at night. So you want to know what the game is. The market's going up. I want to expose myself to the risk that I'm comfortable with, which means what combinations of stocks and bonds is that, which means, okay, how do I figure that out? And that's the questionnaire. And to be honest with you, those of us in my field, we already know the right amount of stocks and bonds, and that's a question that's appropriate for you. We already know the right amount of small caps, mid caps, long-term, short-term, intermediate bonds. And it's not that we're smart; it's just that that's been written down way before even I got in the market. That's a constant. What we don't know is what your level of risk is with regard to the market. Once you tell us what your level of risk is, we can set your portfolio up easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's not tough at all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this weekend, my sister and we were laughing and we were talking about someone that doesn't. I think I said to her, I said, she's like, I'm not sure she has a retirement plan. I said, oh well, maybe her retirement plan the lottery. She goes, yeah, I think that's her retirement plan, winning the lottery. Risky. What type of risk tolerance would you call that?
Yeah, I don't know, but hey, some people, it's working for somebody. Well, hey, that's our topic for the show, and that is, I guess the upside is take that risk questionnaire. I'd like to read your bio and give you the last word. Is that okay?
All right, sounds fantastic.
Okay, so Crystal, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to talk with you. And everyone, this is the Crystal Mitchell that she wants you to know about. She is a business coach and consultant. She is the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, the co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, another weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. My friend Crystal Mitchell. I am Jevon Thomas. I'm a licensed retirement plan advisor. I sell 401ks, 403bs. And if you have a question, please reach out to me. My email is all over here somewhere. And you can always call me at the number that's on here somewhere too. So take us home, Crystal.
All righty. So guys, I learned about bonds today, and that's good. And I actually went back to look at my portfolio, and I actually had put some in there. I think we must have had some kind of brief overview conversation, and I did some research well, let me take that back. The place that I do my investing, they did it in the smart portfolio. I didn't have it in the personal because I didn't quite understand the personal. So now I understand it. So now I know what to do.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, guys, again, it's the end of the year. It's better to start early to plan on retirement versus wait till retirement is around the corner. And you have less time to activate. So right now you guys should be reaching out to your retirement plan advisor so you can take your annual risk tolerance questionnaire and see where you are right now and what 2024 is going to look for, because it's right around the corner, Jevon.
I know. It really is.
We will be celebrating 2024 in exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening. So, guys, tune in again. We're here every Monday afternoon. I'm not quite sure if we're here next week. We're here next week or the next week after, because those are the holiday weeks.
Those are the holiday weekends. I don't know if we'll be here then.
All right. So come back to us in 2024. And maybe some of your Christmas gifts may be some money that you can invest back into your retirement plan. How about that?
There you go.
Have a great one, guys. And wish you the best holiday season possible. Being safe and healthy and having prosperity for 2024.
All right. Happy holidays. Thank you, Crystal. I will talk with you all later.
All righty. Bye-bye.